You practice these acts a lot, but you must mess up a lot. I mean, how do you...
Things go wrong. I mean,
how do you do a chainsaw act and practice that? How do you practice that?
You practice it without it running, and then you slowly build until you're brave enough to do it running. The first time I ever did it, the chainsaw trick I came up with the idea, and...
I was out of town.
Amber was out of town. I went and I bought the chainsaw. I put it together, and so the first thing I did is I rewired it so that it could stay on, so you don't have to hold the thing. And as soon as I wired it, I stupidly touched the wires together, and it turned on and cut my leg. So that was the first thing I did.
Really? Oh,
first thing I did while building that trick.
Not the only thing that happened.
Then I built the whole thing, got it together.
I see the band-aids and the scars. I mean,
Yeah,
this stuff is real.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This stuff is not BS. That is real.
That is real. So the second time I put it together, I put it in my mouth, and I smashed out this tooth.
Ooh.
I put it in, and it went, one of the teeth of the chainsaw got one of the teeth in my mouth, and went, took a tooth out. So that was attempt 2 with it.
And now Ryan's not allowed to learn new stunts when I'm not home.
So the chainsaw trick has been largely injury-free for however many years I've been doing it, until last night I actually got my finger with the saw for the first time in, I don't even know how long we've been doing this now.
Probably 9 years.
And last night I brought the chainsaw down and I just grabbed it funny, and it just barely clipped and took a chunk out of my thumb.
Well, what was the reaction from the audience?
They
didn't know, because I just kept with the routine, and then I didn't even know whether or not I cut myself. You know, you're in the show, and I look and I'm bleeding, and I went, well, your guess is as good as mine. And Amber threw a Band-Aid on it, and we continued the show.
Oh wow! Now he's obviously a masochist. Is that?
No.
Is he a masochist in the bedroom too? Or?
No, he's not about pain at all. Actually,
Right.
We practice all our stuff a lot so that he can do it without hurting himself.
Right.
That's the idea. I mean, you know, when
So you don't think you're a masochist?
No, it's not a masochist thing, and I think that's what has a lot to do with doing this stuff. People think, oh, you must like to hurt yourself. It's not that I like to hurt myself. It's that I can do these things without hurting myself. I mean, there's a difference between a little nick and an injury, and that's the difference, is learning to do these things without causing major injury or being hurt. And
by the way, just so people know, you smashed a cinder block on his night with a sledgehammer.
We don't want kids.
Yeah, right.
I think that'll do it.
That's a given.
Yeah, the sledgehammer to the ball. It's a good prevention of children. It's better than a condom, actually. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
How long were you doing this before you met Jim Rose, and how did you meet Jim Rose?
So I was doing this, let's see.
You said you were street performing when you...
Yeah, I was a street performer, magician, juggler. I started learning to fire eat at 14, learning to sword swallow at 16. I met Jim when I was 20, so I met Jim. I told him I also did some stunts and some stuff, and I liked the show, and he said to me, "Can you balance a running lawnmower on your chin while the audience throws lettuce into the blades? And can you get your stomach pumped on stage?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I can do that." And then we parted ways and didn't hear from him, didn't think anything of it.
And you'd never done either one of those?
I'd never done either one, no.
Yeah.
And then I got a call, and it's Jim Rose, and he goes, "So, did you get the lawnmower and the stomach pumping going?" And I go, "Yeah, sure." And he goes, "Great, meet me in Norway in a month. I'm sending you a ticket."
Wow.
And so I had a month to learn them.
Right.
Went and bought a lawnmower. Went and I had to have a stomach pump made. I started working on
I've
it.
seen that, yeah.
I flew out to Norway and started touring around the Jim Rose Circus.
Now, did he know your...
Well, see, he trusted me off the bat. He knew that I didn't have the stomach pump built and that kind of thing, but he knew that I was capable of doing these things.
Right.
He saw, I mean, that I was able to do these stunts, and I mean, And after the single tour with him, he saw what I was bringing to the table. I mean, I create a lot of stunts, I do a lot of different things, and come up with a lot of original ideas, and he liked that. So I think it turned into a nice relationship. I started writing with him, with the show, started really working with him to put together the show, and he became, he's a father figure to me at this point.
And now you have you've got a 20-year-old magician on the show.
Yeah, and
so it all comes around.
Right, exactly. That's Nick. He's a guy we met from Minnesota, very funny.
How'd you meet him?
Met him through a friend here in Vegas, and he's an expert card. I don't know what you'd call him, the expert in magic now.
He does a good sleight of hand, yeah.
Yeah, and he's a very funny guy, so we wanted to come down. So we actually we rent him a room in our house, and he'd already been staying with us. And then we got this offer for the show, and we said, "Do you want to do an opening act?" And we went, yeah, we're gonna get back in and do an opening act. So it
was good, yeah. What was the first trick that you ever did?
First, like, magic trick or stunt?
What was the first magic trick and what was the first stunt?
First magic trick would be just from a kid's magic kit, making the red hanky disappear, and the old plastic thumb trick.
Right.
So that'd be the first thing I ever learned, probably 5 years old, and once I had been doing magic for a long time, I actually got a book for my parents for Christmas called How to Eat Fire. 14,
wow.
And they bought me a book, and they bought me...
Your parents bought you a book that said how to eat fire.
Yeah, they bought me a book, they bought me all this. They flipped through the book, they found out I would need some metal rods and some gauze and some lighter fluid and all this stuff to make the torches, and they bought that for me, and I started fire eating as part of my magic show. I was doing a dove act, producing doves at the time.
Some cool parents.
So then they let me practice eating fire in their living room, and then they found out a friend of the family had a brother who was part of the Barnum and Bailey Circus for years as a fire eater. They introduced us, and he taught me some more, and then I learned how to eat glass, do the blockhead, and then I started to learn to sword swallow, and just anything I could do to put together a show.
Now, have you had? I know you apparently get minor outside injuries every night, but have you had some internal injuries with the sword swallowing or anything else that you do?
No, I've never had any internal injuries. Luckily, I mean, I'm pretty cautious with that. Anything like the worst thing I've done is when I get injured. I mean, for doing guinea pig or doing actual stunt work, like Amber and I are both certified stunt performers as well. So things can go wrong with stuff like that. I've hurt myself crashing cars or crashing motorbikes, things like that. A couple of broken bones. And I don't count that as far as what we're doing on stage. But I've had things in rehearsals go wrong. I accidentally put a knife through my foot once when I was trying to learn how to throw knives with my feet. I've, and then filming television show, I've, again, broken bones, broken sternum, torn muscles, stuff like that. But
make sure you're getting the handle between the toes, not the blade.
Right, yeah. And it was, just the way the throw went, I ended up having I tried to kick the blade between my toes with just rear back and kick it, and it got caught in the grass and didn't calculate that. Stopped it through. So any injuries we get are usually in rehearsals, or if I'm doing something that I'm hired to do because of its risk. I mean, then that's a different thing. If you're being a stunt performer, it's inherently risky, and that's what you do. I mean, I've got some marks, some little cuts and stuff, but that's not an injury. That's just whoops.
No, I saw because you do the knife with the fingers, and I was in the front row, and I could see like you weren't hitting. The knife was kind of getting. You hit the fingers a little bit, yeah.
Well, it'll sometimes.
You got a little. It looked like you had a little, maybe a little cut or a little something or other.
Nothing tonight.
Okay.
You can see a lot of scars though.
Yeah, it got really close.
Oh yeah, it'll get close. I mean, the worst thing I did, I was opening up for Billy Talent and Steel Panther at the show.
Love Steel Panther. I can see that.
And I was closing out with that, and I put the buck knife through my finger. I broke the finger, just split it this way, and.
But it was Steel Panther show. They must have loved it.
Oh yeah, they didn't even know. I put my hand in my pocket. I was wearing black pants. Thank you very much. Good night. Went backstage and then just blood everywhere. That's the worst I've done with it.
And how did Amber react to that?
Oh, she's over it. She's just like, and then
not again.
And that's the thing. I mean, that one you'll often get a nick. It's always my pinky, so I've got that pinky's just full of scars.
Oh,
you get used to it.
And we could just talk forever, but let What is the most violent or extreme crowd reaction that you've gotten at your show?
Well, I mean, of course, I mean, there's the classic reactions of, you know, Jim Rose used to call falling ovations, things like that. People throwing up, people passing out in the crowd, and those are fantastic. I mean, we've had it accidentally happen with, worst with that is we had a pregnant woman in the front row go down as kind of a bar setting, so she kind of slumped almost onto the stage. And so that's a moment where you go like, oh, we have to actually stop the show for a minute. That's not funny.
Right.
So we've had that happen.
It's a little funny.
As far as violent, we actually had. I was doing a part of a pincushion act where I'm putting big skewers through my arms.
Right,
and stuff.
right.
And I had a drunk, probably homeless guy who had wandered into the bar start walking up on stage as I'm putting it through, and he pulls out a knife,
Right.
just a pocket knife, and opens it up. And I don't know whether he was threatening me with it because he was pretty wobbly and drunk, or suggesting I put the pocket knife through my arm. I don't know what his intentions were, but I didn't like him coming at me with a knife. So I actually ended up turning him around and I kicked him in the ass back into the crowd, and the bouncers had to pull him out of there. So that was a weird, scary moment. But not as scary as you think, because it didn't feel like somebody was pulling a knife on me. It was more of a confusing moment, like, what does he want with that knife?
Right. Yeah, trust me, when they pull a knife on my act, I know what's happening. They don't like the jokes, but for you, they're like, yes, it's put through your arm.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do that, like at the end of your act. People can put their knife in through your arm, and that'll be like an autograph.
That'd be great. If I wasn't doing like 5 shows a week, maybe. You got to pick and choose what you're doing when you're doing this many shows.
So when's the hard opening? When does this open?
So we're going to be opening in November.
In November. You don't have the date.
Done. We don't have the date yet because we were waiting. We need to get into the ticket brokers. We need to get all the billboards up. We need to get the advertisement out there. We certainly don't want to do a red carpet opening and then people go, where do you get tickets?
Right.
So we're certainly going to, once we're in, and we are, like I said, we're working with a production company, Stabile Productions, and they're amazing. They produce we're the 7th show they're producing in Vegas. They've been here for over 15 years.
Right.
So we're certainly, if I was a producer, I'd have produced my own show a long time ago. So I'm certainly like, under them, and I trust them with it, and wait and see. So we're just finalizing a date probably this week.
That's great. That's great. I look forward to it. I think it's gonna be a big hit. I definitely enjoyed it, but then I'm just like,
everybody is secretly, there's no such thing as a normal person. If you ever think you meet a normal person, just check their internet history.